My guests are seen regularly on programs like Good Morning America and ABC News. First comes love, then comes money. This is a couple's guide to financial communication. Authors Bethany and Scott Palmer are known as the Money Couple. Welcome from Colorado Springs.
Great, it's good to be
Joy
here.
to have you
Thank you
back
for
here,
having us.
folks. Now, we have to start with some bad news. 70% of divorces are due to fighting, overspending, debt, control, and money secrets. And you make it clear in black and white that your marriage of 12 years now
Yes.
has endured financial infidelity.
We
What is it and what happened?
Well, financial infidelity is it's lying about money, cheating, hoarding money. I mean, just all the things that you might find yourselves doing, whether it's secret credit cards or secret accounts that you don't want your spouse to start off with. And ours started probably with the most innocent of comments. Bethany was walking out of her kitchen. We had been married for like 3 weeks, so I was a professional married man now. And she left and said, "Would you just please do something about this kitchen?" And so I did the smart thing. I called my brother, who had been married for like 4 months, not my dad, who'd been married for 32 years, and said, "Hey, what does that mean?" He said, "It means she
It's
wants
a
you to
rental."
tear it out. I'll be right over." So we gutted this kitchen. And when Bethany walked through the door, I was kind of expecting this, like, "Wow, you're my hero." That's not exactly the look that I received. It was more like, "Where's the kitchen and why is the refrigerator in the garage?"
And how are we going to pay for a new
And
one?
how are we going to pay for a new one? So that put us on a real journey. Not only fixing the kitchen, which ended up costing more money than I ever anticipated, but really started us on a journey of saying, how do we, if we're going to make this relationship really strong, and if we're going to have the foundation that we want, and we're going to raise our kids in the fashion that we want, and live where we want, and just all the stuff that money affects, how do we need to change the way we think about money, and how do we communicate? And we went out there and there were no resources. There was nothing out there that would help us with that. So we decided, hey, listen, we're financial planners. We've been doing this for 20 years. Let's sit down, combine 20 years at that point. Let's sit down and figure out how to help couples with this issue. And that's what we did.
And when we discovered how much lying and cheating and hoarding was going on in relationships, we couldn't believe it. 70% of divorces were due to money conflict, and there's no resources. And you know, what we have discovered is that we didn't understand, and a lot of couples that we work with don't understand, is that you really have a financial relationship. Because finances affect every decision that you make. Decisions about your children, vacations, your home. Money affects the decisions, so you have to learn how to talk about it. You know, oftentimes we have like one person who does the finances, the budget, or they work on the retirement plan in your relationship, or what. We're not talking about that. We're talking about how do you make decisions together where money affects it, and how do we understand each other and how we make money decisions.
Indeed.
Because we make them differently. I mean, there's no way. Our past, where we came from, how we were raised, it all affects how we make decisions. And then you get together and you're supposed to just get along about it all the time? Doesn't happen.
Not always.
So this is bottom line about communicating. It's not so much, this is not a how to establish a budget.
No.
And it's not the money stuff as much as the relationship, as you said. Now, I don't want to set, you know, I don't want to set up a reproach. This couple are not survivors. You haven't done the 12-step recovery on financial disaster. You started so well that this is what really inspired you to become authors, to reach out to others. Tell us that story.
Well, it's interesting because we have had our challenges, and we are both, when we talk about the money personalities, one of them is being a spender, and we are both primary spenders. We can spend with the best of them. And so little things that I do are really what we call financial infidelity, where I will say I'm only going to spend $50, but I end up spending $100 and I don't tell him. And so inside of our relationship, we would see these little things that would have major impacts on our relationship in terms of the fights would start. And you said you were only going to spend 50, but you spent 100, and those kind of things. And then we were talking to all the couples that we were doing financial planning with, and we were discovering all these other people. And we discovered what a massive challenge financial infidelity is and how it creeps into relationships.
So Bethany, you and Scott took on one of the, well, it's got to be top of the stress scale, and had a wonderful time planning your wedding.
Well, we did, and that's kind of how we got into the whole publishing.
Together. Can I add the word
we did.
together?
We did. Well, Bethany was really into the wedding, and I am a guy, so I was ready to get married, but she would we would sit down with these magazines spread out all over. And I was like, I just didn't even have any idea there were these mini magazines about weddings. And she would introduce new colors to me that with different names. And I had no idea what she was talking about. No, well, no. And so what was happening was, it was consuming our relationship talking about this wedding. And I just was like, wow, can we just, but once we actually, before we even had the idea of the financial planning and with the couples, we said, how can we just have regular meetings about this wedding? And so I said, every Friday I'm yours. Every Friday afternoon, as soon as we get off work, till 2 in the morning, if you want to do wedding plans, you tell me what to do, I'll go do it. I'll get the DJ or the band or whatever you want. So we started splitting up our duties, and our wedding went amazingly smooth. And I really had a blast in the entire process. So that kind of started us on our planning process. And then when we got married and we went through our financial stress, we said, hey, why don't we start implementing some of the things that worked for us?
Turned that wedding planning into a good time.
And actually, Bethany submitted a book idea to a publisher that was called I Do Too, with TWO, talking about how we plan this wedding. And they called us in, and that's when they said, well, aren't you guys financial planners? And we said, well, yeah. And they said, will you write a financial planning book? And we said, no. And they were like, but we'll give you an advance. No. But we'll do this. No, we're not doing that. And they were kind of taken back, and they said, well, if you could write a book about finances, what would it be? And we said, we'd like to write a book about how couples can agree about money, not about how to have the perfect budget, not about how to have the perfect retirement plan, because you're not going to have any of those things unless the two people that are in this committed relationship are on the same page about money.
And let me just bring back as to how that story about our wedding can be applied to people's finances. There's always one person in the relationship who talks about money a lot or is scared about money. Maybe a security seeker, someone who's just like, is it going to be okay? And they're all the time. And the other person's going, enough already. Can we stop talking about it? So we have found that if you set up regular times to talk about money, you actually won't talk about it as much. And it won't consume your relationship.
The irritation factor will be gone.
It's gone.
So we started off every 2 weeks, and now we go to once a month, and we train in First Comes Love, Then Comes Money how to have what we call a money huddle. And it's just a regular time that you get together, that you understand what's coming in, what's going out, where you need to save a little bit, where you can have a little bit of flexibility, how you can dream together. Because the dreaming in our relationships is going by the wayside because the money conflict is getting right in the middle there.
And how common is it that the person who's strong in the financial department handles all that, pays the bills?
Right.
The other partner has no clue where your finances are.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's a scary feeling, especially if you have a woman who's more of a security seeker and she doesn't have any idea where the money's going and what's going on. It doesn't give you a very secure feeling.
Okay, the money couple keeps referring to they're like the temperament types.
That's right.
And
the language.
The value of knowing, identifying and accepting who you are in the money department is huge, especially in a marriage relationship. So let's take a look at the personality that you might be. There are 5.
Yes, there are. You want to outline it?
Sure.
Okay.
There's a saver. That's pretty self-explanatory. You're a saver. When that money goes in your pocket, it's staying there, or it's going into a place that can be saved, your savings account or your checking account. There's the spender. This is Bethany and I. Even though we meet most of our obligations, any leftover money is gone because that's going to be spent. There's the risk taker. Those are the guys that start entrepreneurs, the Fortune 500s. They're amazing people, but they're willing to take risk. Then you have the security seeker. That's my secondary money personality. I don't really like taking a lot of risk with our money. I'd like that to be a little bit more secure. And then the flyer. That's the person that doesn't have any idea what they are, and they really don't care. When the bills come in, they look at them and stick them in a drawer, and they get the phone call saying it's due, and they go, oh yeah, I know where that bill is, I think. They just don't really care about money. It's not their focus.